That was a smoke machine, not nerves. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everybody in the audience. Welcome, everybody who's joining us remotely on our live stream. And a special welcome to our guests today. We've got Michael Martins from the US Embassy, MP for Exham, Guy Opperman, and the Secretary of State for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport, Matt Hancock. We're delighted at True Potential to sponsor FinTech Central, and we're even prouder to welcome you here to our head office in Newcastle upon Tyne. It's from here that we begin our approach to FinTech. We think that the right approach to FinTech is to begin with the end consumer and innovate backwards from there. And we think we're great at that. And why do we think we're great at that, or how are we able to do that? We have our own in-house team of developers, 35 strong. We have all disciplines there. We have DBAs, we have designers, we have mobile developers within there. And what that allows us to do is to take great ideas from the end clients themselves, build them, deploy them in agile fashion, and more importantly, keep testing them until we get them right, until we find out exactly what makes our consumers tick. And our best example of innovation is something that we call Impulse Save. I first showcased Impulse Save at an event called Finovate in New York. That was 4 years ago, and at the time, I said that we were world first with it. Looking forward, still 4 years on, we still are a genuine world first with Impulse Save, and I like to think that that's proof of great innovation in action. It's damn difficult to build something which is elegant and which consumers want to use. But making that elegance is also very difficult for anybody to try and copy out there. And that's what I think great innovation is all about. So let's have a look at some of this innovation in action today. If we can just open up my mobile account, please. This account is what a typical True Potential client gets. We have 1.2 million private clients on our databases, all of whom have access to private client websites and to mobile apps, just like this. These mobile apps let you track the performance every single day of all of your accounts. And importantly as well, they can give you context by tracking your accounts against your goals. So if we just check how I'm getting on against my goal there, you can see that today's gap to goal is £45.78. And this is where Impulse Save really clicks in with its first unique side of things. It lets us not just identify the gap to goal, but to take action with it as well. So let's press the Impulse Save option, please. And here we're presented with some choices about how we can take action. We can set a certain amount, £10, £50, for instance. We can close our gap to goal because it's figured out what that is. But also we can Impulse Save from £1 upwards, and that is the next thing which makes Impulse Save quite unique. Only Impulse Save lets anybody, any UK consumer, save £1 upwards into up to 200,000 separate holdings throughout the world, and with world-class fund managers, including BMO, Columbia Threadneedle, and Allianz, just to name a few. So I'm £45.78 behind my goal, but let's Impulse Save a little bit more. Let's get ahead of things. So let's choose £50, please. My card details are saved in my wallet already, so let's press continue. I get a quick summary just to check I'm happy with what I'm about to do. Let's press Impulse Save, please, and begin the process. And this is where our first integration with blockchain methodologies begins. We're using a ledger approach to audit the transaction and also to give added peace of mind to our clients within there. And just as I've been speaking, you see the process is complete. We've been left with a finished screen. Thank you. That'll take 1 to 2 days now for that transaction to come through and for the client's money to land. As blockchain matures in our industry and as others join our chain, I foresee the day when that money interrogates straight from the client's account and straight into there on the same day. And frankly, I think that's the problem with being an innovator at times. You sometimes have to be first. We're first, we're ready. We need others now to connect to our chain and really realize the true potential of what blockchain can mean, not just in fintech, but to the UK consumers out there as well. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. That's all I have time for today. Really appreciate your attention. And I'm now going to introduce Mark Henderson, my fellow senior partner. Mark's going to talk about innovation in a different way and how we deal with asset and investment management. Importantly for me as well, he's going to let me know how he's going to look after invest my £50. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and please welcome Mark.
Thanks, Daniel. Daniel's very keen to learn what's going to happen with these £50. It's quite simple. It comes in here, and it's added to the money that we collect from clients each and every day. On a typical day this month, that payment could be as large as just over £2 million or as small as £10 a month from somebody who's setting up their first ISA. But what it does mean is that we have that money and we have the technology to apply it correctly for each client, to the client account, whether it's an ISA, whether it's a pension, and to their chosen portfolio. And we do this for thousands of clients each week. The net result of that is we're investing millions of pounds each day on behalf of clients. And we believe in diversification. We are multi-asset managers, and we employ the best in the world to find opportunities across the world for our clients to invest in. Now, this isn't cheap, but technology makes it affordable. It's complex, and again, technology simplifies it and makes sure that our clients understand exactly how they're invested and how they're progressing towards their all-important investment goal. And we're good at what we do. We're successful. We're looking after £7.5 billion of client assets. And that scale enables us to be innovators. And I'm very proud that we launched recently our own growth-aligned fund range. And to put it simply, for a client, if we don't make money for you, we don't make money for ourselves. And let me show you how this works. In year one, we will make money for the client. We take a share of growth fee. The client keeps 90% of that growth. Year two, if there's no growth, there's no share of growth fee. And it gets really interesting in the third year of this example because there's significant growth, but we don't take a share of growth fee on all of that. It's on the segment that's above the previous high, and then that rebases it. And what it means is that we have to be good investors and we have to get consistent growth over the long term for our own interests and our clients' interests. Absolutely perfect alignment. The second thing that the scale brings us is the ability to reduce costs. The investment partners that we deal with, we pay them less as the amount of money invested goes up. We drive that cost down and we spread it across all of the funds that we have. And in this example, one group of our clients, we've saved them £1.5 million per year. Now compound that up over 20 plus years of investment growth, and it's real significant savings and returns for clients. Let me go back. The people that we've chosen to help us run this fund are two world leaders in their fields, their respective fields. We have HSBC, who are building passive instruments at low cost, investing again across the world, and Bank of Montreal, BMO, who are specialists in seeking out opportunities, focused opportunities through active management. The other advantage of scale is that we can bring costs down, as I've mentioned before, £1.5 million per year, real significant savings. But why do people invest? They invest for growth. Our aggressive portfolio in just over 2.5 years has gone up by 44%. Take Daniel's £50. If he invested that 2.5 years ago, it would be worth £72. If it was £500,000, that would be worth £720,000. And in the 2.5 years, we've seen highs and lows in the investment world. But I'm going to leave you with that impressive figure and hand over to Neil, who's going to go through the financials of our company, True Potential. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark. Morning, everybody. Good morning. I'd like to share our results with you. And if you see here, this is our sales turnover growth. Following our consistent, successful strategy, We've grown year on year. By the end of 2017, we'd achieved 99 million of sales turnover. You can see that in our annual report. But more importantly, we measure our compound annual growth rate in our sales. And you can see that figure there, 52%. That means sales have grown eightfold over the last 5 years. Now, this is higher than we see elsewhere in our industry, or indeed in any industry. So this is the reason why we've won the Deloitte's Fastest 50 award for the fastest growing businesses in the UK for 3 consecutive years. And in terms of 2018, well, we're nearly halfway through, and we've already baked in a further jump in sales, another 28 million to 127 million of annual sales. So you can see that success story continuing. And importantly, let's also look at our profit. And look at the CAGR, the compound growth rate there for profit, 50%. That's unmatched in terms of a track record. In the early years, back in 2007, 2008, when profits were lower, we personally invested to grow the business and to drive it forward and to build what we have today. Now we're making substantial profits, and we reinvest those to continue that growth story. We also have no debt, so there's nothing holding us back looking to the future. Another thing we believe in is skin in the game. So every captain goes down with every ship. So I impulse save, my partners here also impulse save. Our personal investments are held in TP funds. That's what we mean by that level of commitment and investment in the business. Now looking ahead, for 2018, we already know that we're going to get to 38 million of profit this year. So you can see the growth rate is accelerating. It's faster than the sales growth. And that leverage is a sign of a very successful business. But we're not buying business. We're profitable, but equally, the use of technology and the scale that we have means we can reduce costs to the client, but also dramatically increase our profits. So that truly is a virtuous cycle. So we look ahead with great confidence. Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name's Guy Opperman. This is probably the coolest club I've been into for quite a while. I've dressed down, as you can see. Many of you are my constituents coming in from Northumberland, and I think the simple point I'd make is this, is that if you go back 150 years ago, what would we all be doing? We'd probably all be working down a pit, or we'd be on the ships, or we'd be doing steel. The 3 traditional industries that we all had. We're now, 150 years on, we're creating a digital business using fintech in a way that is transformational with, as you've just seen, a cost benefit that's taking on the big boys in London and elsewhere. It's something you should be amazingly proud of. Today is the first day of the Great Exhibition of the North, and my job is to introduce Matt, but I just want to leave you with this key thought, which is that the Great Exhibition of the North is this amazing celebration of everything that we have done in the past. Everything that we're famous for, from Swan to Joule to Armstrong to, if you like, your technical side, to Vivienne Westwood for clothes, to Whistle Jacket for art, Hockney, Damien Hirst, all of these things. That's the past. But the reason why I think there's an amazing juxtaposition between what we're doing today and what the Great Exhibition of the North, what Matt's going to talk about in a second, is because we are all the future. My hope is, clearly, I think it's great that David and the team and all of you who are investors in this business are doing well. But my hope is that out there amongst all of you, there's someone who's going to stick his hand up, like David did growing up in a council house in Stanley, and say, well, actually, I'm going to set up a business. I'm going to do something future. I'm going to go and employ people and transform a technical business or go into a new field in a way that then creates this many jobs in the Northeast, because that's what I think is very cool. So it's my great honor to introduce Matt. So Matt and I got into the House of Commons in 2010. He was, for a while, the digital minister in the Department for Culture, Media and Sport. And digital minister is there not just to ensure you get good broadband. If it's not working, blame him, not me, please. More particularly, though, he was promoted to be Secretary of State for Culture, Media, Sport, specialising on all matters digital as well. I think it is fair to say that he's had 24 hours in the Northeast over the last day, where he's had an opportunity to see the amazing things. We both went last night to the Hancock Museum. It's no relation, but I'm sure he'll claim the credit. Or sort of distant cousin 28 times removed. That'll do, exactly. But the Hancock Museum, where if you haven't been, you have to go. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Hancock.
Thanks, Guy. Thanks, Guy. It's a great pleasure to be here. I haven't been in a club in Newcastle like this since I was a student. It's a real pleasure. I'm sure that True Potential will be delighted that you've turned up, Guy, and told everybody to leave and go and start your own businesses. But I think we understood your point. It's a real pleasure to be invited to come here because I'm here to launch the Great Exhibition of the North, and I'm incredibly excited about the Great Exhibition of the North. But the most important thing about having the Great Exhibition based here in Newcastle and Gateshead is that it is a symbol of, yes, of the history, and the Hancock Museum exhibition is brilliant, 2,000 years of what the north of England has given to the world. But it is most importantly about getting everybody from around the country and around the world to look again at the north and see what's happening here. And the explosion is brilliant. This is one of the fastest growing parts of the nation. The amount of tech investment is growing fastest in the northeast, faster than everywhere in this country other than London. As a country, we have the third highest tech investment in the world after the giants of China and the USA. And Newcastle is now home to 30,000 tech jobs. So there's a great excitement, there's a great momentum. I've felt it when I've been here recently. And I know the history of this city. My Uncle Dave is a Geordie. We used to come up here on holiday all the time. I grew up in Chester, which most people regard as part of the north, but not up here. Looking back, the rejuvenation of this city since my visits as a kid in the 80s has been incredibly exciting to see. And True Potential is an absolutely central part of that. Taking the insight that you can use technology to improve the customer service and drive down the costs and therefore improve the returns to people with some of their most precious assets and make their lives better as a result. And do it from here where you can get hold of the talent and the capability, and you can then go and have, it's a great place to live. You can have a great life here too. And doing that here in the Northeast and taking what traditionally would have had to be a London-based business and use technology to deliver better, lower the costs, and also spread the benefits across the country. I'm incredibly excited to see it. I'm delighted to hear that you're using some of the most cutting-edge technologies. I was just upstairs hearing about how you're going to be using blockchain in order to improve the verification. I was hearing about how an apprentice had turned up and reduced a 3-hour process to a 3-second one by using a new piece of kit that they introduced. If you're in the room, stick your hand up, because I want to say, okay, we'll find you later. But most importantly, this business is not just about serving your customers, but this business is a symbol of something bigger, which is a symbol of the rejuvenation of Newcastle, the rejuvenation of the north of England, and how, frankly, Britain is going to make our living in the 21st century, bringing together innovation, creativity, and technical capability. I want to give you a great big congratulations for what you've achieved so far, and to tell you that in the future, as you go from strength to strength, we're beside you every step of the way. Thanks very much indeed.
So we're doing Q&A. This, as you can probably imagine, is a microphone. I was extraordinarily tempted to practice American football and go long, but I think that would be a deeply stupid idea. So, David, where is... that was very easy. David, you're in charge. Your question.
Hi, Matt. So you started off as a developer in your own family business. What advice could you give to the developers in True Potential?
Oh, that's a good question. So my first job was a COBOL programmer, solving the Y2K bug in my family business. And family business is essentially it's identity management business. If you type your postcode into the internet and it brings up your address, we wrote that. And my advice is to can I give you have two pieces of advice? My first advice.
You can do what you like on the stage.
Thanks very much. My first piece of advice is always focus on the user. It's always hard when you're in the depths of a piece of code because you're at a level of abstraction, but always focus on the user. That's the first thing I'd say. But my second thing is to say coders are going to build the world. Coders are building the world, and you're part of something greater than yourselves. And this technology is changing the world faster than the world's ever changed before. So you're part of something really big.
Okay. Second question is from Lexi. Where's Lexi? Here we go. Ready?
Hi, Matt. We hear a lot about how the UK have a strong fintech sector. I was wondering who our competitors are and how we stay ahead.
That's a good question. So there's no doubt that the UK is the best in the world for fintech. There is, I think the fact that we're such an international financial center as well as being great at tech has meant that we're front of the queue, but there's places that want that crown. New York wants that crown, but they've got a problem of complicated overlapping regulators, whereas our regulator, the FCA, is pretty forward-looking. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Don't ask David. Don't ask David. Keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things. Of course, China is absolutely trying to steal every tech crown going, but they find it more difficult because they don't have naturally the same instinctively liberal approach that we've got. But ultimately, we're only going to stay ahead if we keep innovating, right? So keep coming up with the ideas.
So, Jamie, where are you? Okay, Jamie, wait, this is going to be difficult. Here we go. Ready?
Great sporting region, too.
Surprised I didn't drop it. Matt, fintech's about breaking boundaries and new ideas. With this in mind, how do we ensure that regulation that doesn't have fintech in mind doesn't prevent companies like ourselves from progressing?
Yeah, have you got a for instance?
No.
No. Okay. Look, so
I'll take that.
I think I mentioned the FCA. You know, their regulatory sandbox was one of the most cutting-edge things. In fact, I had my Indian opposite number in my office this week, and he said, yes, I said, you know, how can our fintech get into India? Because there's clearly collaboration there, and they've got so much scale of market. He said, yes, well, we have this new approach. We've called it the regulatory sandbox. I said, oh, yes, excellent. He said, we got it from Singapore. I said, I know for a fact that the Singaporeans got it from us. And he said, well, you may be good at innovation, but they're obviously better at marketing. We've got the key is we've got to keep ahead of this. Right across the board, rules and regulation, laws and regulations have been written long before the sort of technology that you're developing here was even dreamt of. And we are in the middle of going through the whole regulatory piece to update it. Fintech was one of the first areas. Clearly, we've just done data protection with the GDPR. You might have had an email about it. We're going through drone regulation, for instance, and automotive car regulation to try to pull off this trick of having regulation that, yes, protects the safety of citizens, but also is pro-innovation. Now, you can always argue about the balance of that. I think that too often we get the balance not enough in favor of the innovation side. Given the scale of changes, we've got to be really open to what can happen to make sure that we don't stop it. But there's a massive process we've got to go through as a country and as legislators to update the laws right across the piece so that we can take advantage of these technologies. And fintech is one example, but there's a whole load of them because it's changing every aspect of life.
Now, next question is Laura. Where's Laura? Laura, here we go. Ready?
Hi, Matt. So you famously called your department the Ministry of the Future. What technologies do you think we'll see in the next 5 years?
It's also known, hang on, we know it in government as the Ministry of Fun, because they basically get all the fun jobs as well.
You know, we actually did rename it the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport, because I thought that digital needed a bit of a higher billing. And it is the Ministry of the Future, because the combination of technology and creativity, and you get the creativity through the cultural life of the nation. That is where the future lies. It is also the Ministry of Fun. And previously, people in my job have balked at the idea that it's called the Ministry of Fun because it makes it sound like it's not serious.
No,
the thing is, there's quite a lot of serious heavy lifting these days, and also I think the country needs a bit of fun, frankly. So we're all in favour of that. I think the big technologies coming down the track are well. Let me answer it this way. A few years ago, there was a huge amount of excitement about blockchain, and that's developing and now maturing quite effectively. We use it in government, for instance, to verify payments. There's also excitement about the Internet of Things, although we've got to make sure that we get the spectrum coverage broad enough so that everybody can use it. I think those two are big will bring big changes. But then there's a technology through artificial intelligence, there's technology that is going to be even bigger, because by its nature, whereas most technologies improve things in a sort of linear way, because artificial intelligence allows the machine to learn, it is a compound rather than additive. It will keep improving and keep accelerating. So I think that is going to have a massive impact. And everybody's talking about it. But even bigger than the impact of AI, I think, but probably on a longer time scale than 5 years, is the impact of quantum computing. And in AI, we're one of the world leaders, like we are in fintech, but the Chinese and the Americans are also very strong. In quantum, there is no doubt that the UK has the best technology on the planet. It's mostly happening in Cambridge, in research labs, and it's just starting to be scalable from infinitesimally small but incredibly rapid computational power to being of usable scale. If we can get ahead in quantum, then that is going to have an impact even bigger than AI, and we're at the front at the moment. But traditionally, you know, the UK has been good at innovation and then found the commercialization harder. I don't think that really applies anymore, and in a way, you're evidence of this. So we've got to stay right at the front of the quantum race, which is only just in the starting blocks right now.
I'm going to take that back. We haven't quite finished. I've got 2 more things I want to do. So I definitely want you to tell that, because you got the chance to meet our greatest astronaut, and that story they should hear. I just want to ask a question here. So David famously set this business up, having had a lifetime in financial services. Stick your hand up if you think, obviously not straight away, but at some stage in the future, you want to set up a business. I'm going to stick my hand up. Don't be shy. And stick your hand up if you think you can be as successful as David can in the business you're going to create. Go on, who's got I saw someone there hand up. That lady
Someone
there.
Twitched.
Someone there twitched. So I'm gonna tell you. So Matt has an amazing job. It's a really, really cool, interesting job, looking after everything from digital to culture to sport. But you also are in charge of broadband. And I love the story that these guys should hear. We're going to finish on this. The time that you met our most famous astronaut. You tell that.
Well, it's a great story. One of the great things about my job is I meet some really interesting people. But there's one downside to my job, which is that when I meet really interesting people, and I want to ask them about them and what they do and find out about them, too often they find out what I do and they start badgering me about their broadband. And now, I'm sure that this isn't an experience any of you have had, because the rollout of broadband is better in the northeast than any other part of the country. Do you know that guy?
Yeah, when you say northeast, you don't necessarily mean rural Northumberland, but keep going, yes indeed.
Yeah, that's right. And it's so great everywhere except for your constituency. I say, blame the local MP. But this reached its peak when in December last year I was sat down for dinner next to Tim Peake. I was really thrilled, really looking forward to it. I wanted to ask him about the scientific experiments that he did on the space station. I wanted to ask him about what it was like going up in the rocket, what re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere was like, about the training. And he turned to me and he said, you're the digital guy, aren't you? I said, yeah, that's right. He said, the broadband on my space station was crap. And he then badgered me about how there's not enough spectrum allocated for the space program to allow for the connection to be broad enough up to the space station.
I love the fact he blamed you for this as well.
And he did. And I couldn't believe it. And he went on and on about it. But I bumped into him last week. I was at Stephen Hawking's memorial service, and there was Tim Peake. And I said, Tim, I'm really sorry, I've got to tell you, I've been telling this story everywhere about how your broadband was crap. He said, yeah, but they sorted it. So there you go. You can sort broadband, whether on Earth or up in space.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Hancock. So it's a great delight to be the warm-up man for David. David Harrison.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you, Secretary of State, Matt. Thank you, Guy, as per normal. Welcome, Michael, and thank you to my partners for making it so easy for me to mess the next bit up. So that's good. And thank you for wanting to start businesses and so on and so forth. We've got the films, we've got your names, we've got your faces. So make the most of your last day. And we'll see how you get on tomorrow. Okay. The results that we saw, the questions I have really are about why. Why is it that we've got this sort of profile all of a sudden? And one of the answers, this was easy this morning because there's no tall people standing there, so I could see that one and looking down here. You can see that the mission that we set out with and the sort of strapline that we began this business with, which are simple, effective, unique, and trying to revolutionize. Too often these things come out of marketing departments or something they're trying to, if you like, make something look nicer later on or change your mind, or if you see an advert in the TV, which you often do. If you watch the adverts in the TV and you see the banks advertising, if you want to know what the banks are doing, have a look at that advert and it'll be the direct opposite of that. Okay, it'll just be a straightforward opposite because they can't do often those things. We were different. We started with the end in mind. I think Daniel mentioned earlier that we wanted something which was simple, effective, and unique. And uniqueness is quite important. So if you're going to start your own business, why is it important? We became unique not just from one of the things we've done, because many of the things that we do are not unique. It's really difficult to get something that on its own is unique, because it means that nobody else has it. It doesn't exist anywhere else but here. Okay, so I would never claim much of that. Impulsive is a good example of something that is truly unique and continues to be unique. And we'll talk about that in a second or two. But uniqueness allows you, if you can get it right, to avoid head-on competition, because that will drain your energies. If you're having a fight with another competitor, you become fixated and focused on the wrong thing. The thing to focus on is where is the market? Who are your clients? So when you look at each one of our little businesses that we've got, you mightn't think of them as a business. They are different departments. So advisor services, it would be a big business on its own. There are several competitors in that space, but we don't compete with them at all. I don't even know what to charge. I don't care. We recruit from them with ease. The amount of advisors we've got in the market, as you know, is small compared to where it was, but we could easily beat competition if we chose to compete. But there's no need, because we're looking for extra markets. We're going into extra spaces. Wealth management, another one of our advisor services business. If you look at True Potential Investor, workplace pensions. Workplace pensions, 177,000 people are signed into that. We would have had more if we'd started earlier, but we wanted to get into pensions before that. Another one, occupational pension transfers. We'll touch on that in a second or two, but this didn't exist 2 or 3 or 4 years ago. Auto-enrollment, which are workplace pensions, a fantastic innovation from the government. When the government decides to be innovative, it normally works. You just want them to try more and more and take a little bit of a risk. Problem is they've got to get voted in each time. So that's testing for us. When you look at then technology, the in-house team, we've got David standing in front of me. Remember building Impulse Save. From Impulse Save, from the thinking about Impulse Save, the drawing of it on a whiteboard and the demo, I think was weeks. This is something which took weeks. You saw behind. Daniel will tell you, I think it's scarred him for life, or well, playing rugby scarred him for life. So, but when he went across to New York, and this was the thing on an Apple Watch, he did it on an Apple Watch many years ago, and did an actual live demo using broadband in New York, which isn't as good as broadband here. It wasn't good enough to drive the Google Glass, however, that froze, so they all had to stand on stage looking foolish for a while. But it cheered us up in Newcastle anyway. So when you look at all these things, let's just flick through them. These are all the things we've got. Platforms. We've got a business platform. We've got an investment platform, which we've just rebuilt or rebuilding. We're about to test it. Using our own assets, using our own money, and then your money, and then maybe some clients' money. And if it works, then we'll roll it out to the rest of our client base. Platform operator, ISA manager, pensions administrator, pensions trustee. It took us 14 months to be trustworthy enough to become a pensions company. Matt wants a tip, or Guy wants a tip as to how you get rid of the no, not how you get rid of the regulator. How you help the regulator is to get them to pick up your file. You get 6 months in order to get for them to look at this. They pick it up about 1 minute to the 6 months, and they ask you an innocuous question. So after 14 months, we finally got through. There was no change in this. We were ready on day 1, 14 months later. So it's that kind of speed that we'd want. And I know Guy quite well. I've just met Mark, but we've studied them. They are fast operators. They will move as fast as the machine lets them. And if the machine doesn't let them, I know they change the machine. So we're in good hands. Fund management, there we go. Took us a year. Colin's own money was invested. He was the only investor. His pension went into his own funds to begin with. Portfolio management, we heard from Mark about the amazing job that they've done down there. All gathered together in one simple to understand value chain. So Matt asked a great question earlier on. Who are your clients? How do you get your clients? And you get your clients through your distribution methods. So we've got something like 4,000 people selling our services, our products out there. They have chosen the clients. Our direct-to-consumer, however, chooses a different kind of client. Our workplace pension has a different kind of client. So when you look at what we're trying to do, we have a hugely diverse set of methods to attract clients and to sell to them. We gather them together for efficiency, and then it's spread, once again, to avoid risk to the client. The best way to avoid risk is to have many eggs in many baskets. It's the opposite of some approaches by some fund managers. It also allows you the clout that we have. When we signed up UBS, we've given them about £740 million. It makes us the biggest client in Europe. Now, UBS are quite a big deal, by the way. One of the biggest assets managers in the world. Yet we are their main client. And we use that. We use that to get the price down. So it's how you focus that, but you make certain that you spread it then to ensure that the one phone call you don't want is what's happened to my money. We want to be saying, well, it's gone up 44%. So that's the aggressive portfolio. Balanced, I think, about 30-something%. Quite good. I know because I'm in there, by the way. So finally, no good building a business, doing anything unless you choose the right market. So when we look at the market itself and just pick out 1 or 2 areas of the market, we know people are getting longer. I feel as though people are getting taller. Yeah. People are living longer. And it's often presented as a problem. Oh, people are getting older. They're living longer in old age. And so the pensions which were designed in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, in some cases 1840s, 1850s, 1860s, not 19s, were designed to be perfectly timed. So 2 or 3 minutes after you retire, you die. That was it. You know, and then we've been guaranteeing this via the state pensions. Now we no longer have SERPs. I was told when I was 16 in consulting company, you get 25% of your pay when you retire. Now I'm retired. I don't take the pension. I'm letting it roll up. So I can get £150 a week, which is not quite a quarter of my pay. It's not quite 25%. Sometimes on some days has been more than my pay. So, if you want to see who's told pension fibs over the years, it's every government, because they promise something which is impossible to keep up. Like private companies saying, we'll give you a pension for life, okay, buy you an annuity for life. Those days are long gone. And it's not because of interest rates being low, it's not because of the annuity, it's because people are living longer. So we see that as an opportunity. It's not a problem. It's a problem if you're dying. It's not a problem if you're living longer. So when you just look at that one thing in the market, you then think about technology, you think about what we do with that. So our approach to longevity, if you like, is to have a fund, which that funds continue to grow. Once again, where the regulator gets it wrong, they put you in a risk rating just at the time, the wrong risk rating, just at the time you need growth. You need growth because you're going to be living 20 or 30 years. Imagine going, right, okay, I'm retired, I'll now go into cash. Gone. You get the square root of nothing in a bank building society or an annuity right now. You need to be in the markets. For people to be confident to be in the market, we need to educate them. Thus the true potential puffin approach with Open University, where we got a department there that's educated 360,000, 400,000, something like that, people about financial matters. Simple, straightforward language, but you need growth. You need growth. So that's what we're doing. And we're letting people see where the growth is via their phone, their iPad, their television screen, whatever method they find to get in there. So that's one of the areas. Then we look now at how lucky we are. Not just lucky to live longer. We're lucky to actually be in the northeast of England. But both Matt and Guy have touched on it. FinTech, Britain has the opportunity to be the world leader. It's not often these days you hear that. You hear everybody queuing up. I've stopped watching the BBC, frankly. I've stopped reading the FT at times as well, because I hadn't realised how badly off I was as I climb into my Bentley. You know, it's totally the opposite. I'm going to put them with the banks and building societies and the advert people soon. Because when I look in the car park here, you seem to be doing all right. You know, make the most of it, because you're sacked tomorrow, those who are going to compete with me. I'm not trying to change your mind, so I'm trying to urge you on. But when you look at the Northeast, and Matt almost stole my word for word what I was going to say, this is a great place. The UK itself is a great place. If you manage to just pull yourself away from the rubbish in the papers and you look at the actual statistics, the real evidence, it's hard to find, but it's there. We're living longer, it's safer. You know, yeah, I live in Stanley, not Sunderland, sorry, Laura, just your big face just caught my eye there. And because of that, I live in a relatively safe area of County Durham, not like Sunderland. We had a fight every 5 minutes. It's not that, you know, there'll be certain parts of London you go and you will get into trouble. But the rest of the time, you know, we've got a great health system. It's hugely expensive to keep going. But you are well looked after. United Kingdom is probably the best place on earth. And part of that UK is here. And I think this is God's country. So we do have all of the stuff we need right now. I know we are $1 billion company, right, in Tyneside, just along the road from where they closed down. All of the stuff that I applied for jobs with at Vickers Armstrongs, etc. And it's remarkable, and we should make the most of it. Thank you for your attendance. A special thanks to our special guests. enjoy the day. And people have been joking about this being a semi-permanent fixture. Well, we'll have a look at the costs. Okay. Not to me, to you. Okay. Okay, thank you.